Okay, we will call this regular council meeting to order. It's 3 p.m., June the 8th, and I'd ask Councillor Hill to please read the land acknowledgement.
Thank you. The town of Innisfail acknowledges that we are meeting on Treaty 7 territory, the ancestral and traditional territory of the Blackfoot Confederacy, Kainai, Piikani, Siksika, as well as the Tsuut'ina First Nation and Stoney Nakoda First Nation. We acknowledge that this territory is home to the Métis Nation of Alberta, Region 3, within the historical Northwest Métis homeland. We acknowledge the many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit who have lived in and cared for these lands for generations. We are grateful for the traditional knowledge keepers and elders who are still with us today and for those who have gone before us. We make this acknowledgement as an act of reconciliation and gratitude for those whose territory we reside on.
Thank you, Councillor Hill. I'd like to extend a warm welcome to everybody that's in the gallery today. Thank you for coming. We appreciate that. Moving into 2.1, are there any additions or deletions? Could I please have someone make a motion to adopt the agenda as presented, please? Councillor McKellar.
Mayor Barkley, I'll move the agenda as presented.
All right, thank you. All in favor? Okay, carried. All right, and then we have the regular council meeting minutes for May the 25th. When somebody's ready, could I please have a motion to accept those minutes as presented? Councillor Russell.
Mayor Barkley, I'll make that motion.
Okay, thank you. Any changes? No. If not, all in favor? Carried. And then the meeting minutes for the agenda and priorities meeting on June the 1st. Please have someone make a motion. Councillor Hill.
I would make that motion, Mayor Barkley.
Okay, thank you. All in favor? Okay, carried. All right, next we'll move into 4.1. I'd like to invite Mr. Ron Shepherd to come up with Parkland Regional Library System, and welcome. Thank you for coming today and look forward to your presentation.
Does this mean I'm live now? No? Oh, yes. So thank you for having us today. This is Parkland Regional Library Systems Board Chair, Barb Gilliatt, and we appreciate the time that you're giving us. Obviously, this is your presentation, so if you've got any questions anywhere along the way, please feel free to interrupt or to ask anything that you want. And we're going to start with Barb right at the moment.
Thanks.
If I can get this to work, maybe not.
There we go. So Parkland is one of the 7 regional library systems. So we're basically right across the center of the province. We operate as a municipal cooperative, not-for-profit service organization. We're run by a board. We provide services, not products. We ensure that even the smallest libraries have access to advice and assistance, along with the cost effectiveness made possible by working in a larger unit. We're the oldest. We were formed in 1959. We have 63 municipalities, 6 First Nation reserves, serving a population of over 250,000 people. We have 49 public library service points and 45 participating library boards. We have 22 full-time employees and 5 part-time drivers. So our board is with 45 people, so it's fun. Change. Thank you. So we have over 613,000 items in our system catalog. We have over 921,000 items that's sent out on the van runs every week for the year. 1.1 million physical circulations throughout the system. We have over 1.5 million Wi-Fi sessions at the libraries and 337,000 visits to member library websites. Governance, we are established under the Library Act, not the MGA. Parkland is formed by the parties of the Parkland Regional Library System Agreement, not by a government. So we do not exist without the 63 municipalities that form it. So it's the member municipalities are Parkland. So I'm going to turn it over to you now.
Thank you, Barb. Yeah, so sometimes there's a lot of confusion about what a regional system is. So when you think about that agreement and how we don't exist without the municipalities, probably the closest parallel I can think of is, for instance, an intermunicipal agreement where you have for fire services or water or any of those other kind of things. It's just we're established under the Act. Now, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what we actually do, since Barb told you very eloquently about how we're organized and how we're set up. So again, going back to at our core, we've got all of these libraries. We've got more public libraries than anybody else in Alberta, and we've got more municipal members than anybody else. But the difference between Parkland and, for instance, an Edmonton or Calgary Public Library is they're single libraries that have multiple branches. All our libraries are autonomous, but they still need the services of a centralized unit that can do the whole list of things that you see up there under core benefits. And as Barb said, we transported last year over 900,000 items. So materials delivery and interlibrary loan management are two of the core services we provide, because we move an awful lot of materials, not just between Parkland's member libraries, but also from within Parkland to other libraries around the province of Alberta, and then things that people want from other libraries, both academic and public, into Parkland. And so that's one of our core services. We also run an integrated library system, which is like a big inventory system where we keep track of all of those items in that system catalog. Barb mentioned there are over 600,000 items between those 49 libraries and our own headquarters unit. Well, we keep track of that. People check out their books on the ILS, as we call it. That's where patron records are taken care of. And it's also a significant expense because it's basically a big piece of software that we have to pay for. All libraries, as said, get deliveries. So including Innisfail, they get 2 van runs a week because they are a larger library for us. We reimburse the postage as well for libraries because not everything can be sent by vehicle, and sometimes it's mailed. We provide library cards and other supplies to libraries that they use on a regular basis. And one of the big things is materials allotment, which is calculated at $1.13. That's important, and it's one of the most important things libraries identify when it comes to what Parkland provides, because out of our budget, when you prove it, we set aside $1.13 per capita, and then that goes on an account that the libraries can spend against to buy their books, their DVDs, and everything else. And then we have that 41% discount because we negotiate very well with our vendors, and so that extends the buying power for materials that are purchased through Parkland. We do the cataloging and processing, so when something arrives at a library, they just get pulled out of a box and can be put on the shelf. It's got its cover on, it's got spine label, it's got barcodes, it's got everything that it needs. We also have collections for the print disabled. We provide access to 2 services known as NELS and SELA. One, NELS, provides the equivalent of Braille books, and SELA provides audiobooks that people who have disabilities can listen to. There's also the Rural Library Services Grant, which should be important to you because, for instance, Red Deer County, being a member of Parkland, well, they actually do have a library, but we're the board of record. But because they don't have their own library board that they appoint, Parkland receives the Rural Library Services Grant, which we every year ask, how do you want this divided up? And then that money, they tell us, and then we give so much to each of the libraries within the county area, including Innisfail, and I'll speak a little bit more about that later. And then going back to interlibrary loans, we also have money for a cooperative collection fund because, believe it or not, Parkland and Edmonton Public Library are the biggest users of interlibrary loan in Alberta. So again, that's very important. And the cooperative collection fund is a fund that we set up, again, comes out of Parkland's budget to try and provide, sort of fill the holes in the library's collection. So we do the selection because we can see what is being requested by library patrons. We simply give the books to the libraries to try and reduce that interlibrary loan amount. We also house an awful lot of special collections, and these are collections that they can be borrowed by libraries to then turn around and circulate to their patrons, or it's things like the e-books and the e-audiobooks. So we have right now over 12,800 e-books that we provide to libraries or library patrons, and over 6,500 e-audiobooks, because again, they have to be provided by us. Remember, libraries also contribute funds, but most of the money for those collections comes out of Parkland's budget. We have over 9,400 large print books. Again, these are loaned out in blocks. Libraries use them for as long as they want to serve their patrons, and then they send them back to us when they're done, because large print is very expensive, and it's simply cheaper if we provide that. Audiobooks, they're still popular, declining, but those are the books that you listen to on CD. Again, we provide those as blocks in collections for library use. And we have over 141 programming kits. They go across all different age levels, and what we do is we provide those to libraries, so libraries have access to a simple program without having to create a whole bunch of effort to create their own program themselves. Again, they use them for as long as they want, they send them back to us. And then we have a cornucopia of other things that are, for instance, basically electronic magazines and other reference sources. So we supply those as well directly to patrons. And then one other thing that we do is we did negotiate a contract with 4 other library systems, and we share their e-books and e-audiobooks. Network management. We're still the only library system in Alberta that actually purchases the computers for the member libraries. So we provide their wireless equipment, we supply website management for 41 libraries, host email, and we're basically managing and supporting a network of about 600 computers, and we also license all the software that runs on those computers, provide the internet and supernet management as well. Member library training and support. Very few of the libraries in Parkland actually have either library technicians or librarians that work in them, so we do most of the training. And in 2025, we engaged in over 1,600 training activities and direct consulting activities in 23 training events by Parkland staff. That's where most of our libraries get their professional development. We always encourage them to call us first, and you can just get an idea of the kinds of things that we do, whether it's Friends of the Library training, financial training, advocacy, annual report workshop. I mean, this list that you have before you is just a tiny little short list compared to all the things that we do. So real quick, our budget, about 41% of our operating budget comes from the Government of Alberta. The per capita requisition in 2026 this year is $9.99 per capita. So that means that the municipalities out of our budget are paying a little over $2.2 million. And then takes a long process for us. We're already talking well into discussions about the 2027 budget. And based on the membership agreement, it takes 2/3 of the municipalities representing 2/3 of the population for Parkland's budget to be approved. So look forward to another budget coming out this fall. This is an ROI. You should have a copy of it. This is a direct return on investment, and what we're trying to do with this is give you something that's no nonsense, and it doesn't include things like Barb and I coming out and visiting council meetings. It doesn't include our consulting support. It just is supposed to be as hard, concrete numbers as we can provide. So when you invest in Parkland in 2025 with your little over $78,000, you see that first of all, you have that materials allotment of over $9,000. The Rural Library Services grant that Parkland receives but then gives to the libraries of over $15,000. Then there's also a county allotment for county population that they assign to the Innisfail Library. The computers that we bought, and that number changes every single year. That portion used by Innisfail for software licensing, the supernet and internet connections that basically are as a result of belonging to Parkland. And then this one is always staggering, but Innisfail patrons borrowed over $1.3 million in materials from other libraries, and that's that interlibrary loan. I told you Parkland people use a lot. And then digital items borrowed, the ebooks and e-audiobooks based on an average cost is over another $538,000 worth of materials that patrons of Innisfail get by being part of Parkland. Return on the municipal levy. when you look at our budget overall, this is another sort of cost value document. Again, you'll see that this is out of our total budget because we asked for over $2,200,000 in 2026, but materials allotment was over $253,000. That cooperative collection fund, $25,000. Technology, $161,000. The software licensing that we do, $242,000. E-content will skip down, $158,000, and you can see the rest of the numbers as you go through that page. And then when you look at the Rural Library Services grant, that alone is $452,928 in direct returns. So that by the time you're done, and you look at those numbers at the bottom of the page, 91% of the money that municipalities are putting into Parkland go right back to the member libraries in a very tangible form. And then there's this. This is revenue library system revenue sources. This is prepared by the government of Alberta, so we didn't invent it. And some things that you'll notice about it is that Parkland is actually number 3 right now on this list, and it's the first time we've ever crept up that high when it comes to total revenue at $14.56. Apparently this year in 2026, we're already back down to our traditional spot, which is the second lowest in gross revenue. But you'll see some anomalies because only Parkland being the oldest system and Yellowhead being the second oldest, we don't bill library boards, which is why the municipal requisition is a bit higher. And we also don't charge differential fees. So the thing is that what we're trying to point out here is that we like to think that we're providing significant value, but we actually have the second lowest level in 2026 of gross revenue. Like I said, the only time we've even hit number 3 was in 2025. But that's it for the presentation, if you have any questions.
Okay, thank you very much. Does anyone have any questions for our delegation? Councillor McKellar.
Thanks, Ron, for the report. Can you maybe just touch a little bit for council here, as we've been discussing it on Bill 28 and where things are with that right now?
Bill 28, just in general, because Bill 28 has passed, as I'm sure you're aware, and received royal assent. And lots of people like Bill 28 because it's an omnibus bill with a whole bunch of different provisions. The way it's impacting libraries, because I keep trying to steer away from any philosophical argument about the content of material in libraries, because since the bill is passed, it doesn't matter what your philosophical position is, but this bill has the potential to have a tremendous impact on library services because it's not clear to us, because we've heard about 3 different things. One, that it was only, originally the Premier stated it was only going to affect those libraries that were in schools. Then it was, there are only a handful of items. I think we were told maybe a dozen books that were of concern to the province. But yet, Deputy Director Andrea Newland went to a meeting in Edmonton, back over here, on April 20th, and at that meeting, it sounds like because certainly in the changes to the Act, the sweeping powers that are granted could impact e-content, internet access, all levels of collection, and so we just don't know. But we do know that the collections are supposed to eventually be set up in such a way so that unless you're 16 or older, it's going to require some sort of parental consent or, well, we don't know. And that's kind of where we're at right now, because we don't know the extent of what the regulation is going to say about what we have to effectively restrict access to. We don't know whether it's going to be the whole print collection. We don't know whether it's a few graphic novels. We don't know whether it's e-content. We don't know whether it's going to be internet access. It could be any or all of these. And we have a whole bunch of concerns because if you're going to fundamentally change the very service nature of what public libraries are, I always use the example of you go to Indigo Books, well, they don't have separate sections for things. And this is going to mean probably more staff, so that's going to have a cost impact. It might mean renovations to the facility, that's going to have an impact. If we're expected to put filtering on computers, well, that's going to increase the software cost. I mean, there's just a whole host of unanswered questions at this point. And so what we're asking municipal councils to do, and we've got all sorts of templates that we can share with you, and these have been sent out to our board representatives, is that please send a letter to the minister and to the premier just to say, look, okay, again, this is not a philosophical argument. This is, if you want these changes, you need to make it clear what you want changed. And, you know, again, even when it comes down to individuals who might lodge a complaint, well, how is that going to look? And what happens to the library if they're found to be outside of the legislation that's going to be produced? We don't have any of those answers. So we would like to be talked to. We would like to work with the government if we possibly could. And if there are substantive changes, we need more money. And certainly I was involved in advocacy for a few years now trying to get an increase in the operating grants. And that's not forthcoming. So this cost is going to be downloaded to you, depending on what it ends up by being. Council will have to pay for those bills for your local library. And if we have to impose a whole bunch of controls because we manage the network, well, who am I going to come to pay for those fees? So it should be a concern for everybody.
Thank you. Councillor Hystad?
Yeah, Mayor Barkley, thank you. And that's where, that would have been my question, is there's going to be costs, like no matter what, with the consultation with our council representatives as well as the Parkland Regional Library. I was just wondering if there was ongoing discussions with the other regions as to, you know, what advocacy avenues there would be for all the library boards as well as the specific libraries. You look at the extensive groups that the libraries, you know, are being represented, and how do you advocate for that in a short matter of time? That's what I see, and it's going to be downloaded onto our taxpayers, definitely. So, thanks.
Look up Coalition of Alberta Public Libraries, the CAP website, because it basically is a coalition that includes most of Alberta's major libraries and systems. And there's a huge amount of information there, and I've been heavily involved right since this began, because it started out as an advocacy effort looking for funding. And then it kind of morphed into this when we realized that there was going to be a change in legislation that had dollars attached to it, significant money potentially. So we've been actively trying to get meetings with the Premier, with the Minister, Dan Williams. We've been doing this for months now. It's almost like another full-time job.
Yeah, we have spoke about that before, Ron. I think, you know, if you say that the time is right to send a letter, we will likely end up doing that with everybody on council's in agreement. One stat that you did share today is 41% of your budget is coming from the government, and my understanding is you've seen maybe a 1% increase over 15 years, something like that?
Oh, no, it's been better than that.
Okay, somebody told us that somewhere along the way.
But you have to remember, too, that we're looking at population growth because the grants are all per capita based.
Okay.
So you're seeing an increase in population, and it doesn't take into account inflation. And so these are pressure points for us.
Okay.
And that's apart from Bill 28 and what that could imply.
So I guess my question is, like, is there a number? I know with the FCSS, we're ideally to be at an 80-20 split between the province and the municipality. We're at 60-40 in our community. With the library, is there an ideal split where 41% is where it's been for where it would typically be, or do you see that declining out of the total budget?
Well, we have had to rely a little bit more. We were a little better. The province was paying a little bit more, at least when it came to Parkland's operating grants over the last few years. But because, again, we're so heavily reliant, because we get less money in some way, because we don't build library boards. It's just the municipalities and the provincial government, so it tends to be a higher proportion of our budget. Going back to the original advocacy effort, what we were asking for is for provincial grant, the structure to change, because the way it works is the government itself sort of gives you a bunch of money when they have money to give you. But then you don't get anything, you don't get any increases for the next few years. And what we were asking for was a fundamental change in the way the grants are administered. One, we wanted something to be included that addressed annual inflationary amounts. Then for the big urbans like Edmonton and Calgary, where they've seen this massive population growth, they wanted to have new population statistics every year too, because we're still receiving grants on 2019 population statistics. And then they did ask, because there have been a few years now that we have not seen any increase in operating funding, and I can't remember, I'm sorry, I don't remember what the rate was, but an immediate increase for, because it's at 556 right now per capita for the operating grants, so that's what would go to the Innisfail board, but it was a significant immediate increase, and then a similar increase for systems, because our system grants are only 475 per capita. So it wasn't a split or a ratio, but rather what we were originally lobbying for was a whole different way in which the province administered operating grants, because it's easier for us to plan, even if the dollars are less, but it's better to get a little bit at a time that's predictable than it is to wait a few years and then you get a big bunch of money and then you don't get anything for a few more years.
Thank you for that. Any further questions from anybody? I don't see any, so thank you again for coming, and thank you to your board members who came today. And we always appreciate hearing from you.
Thank you.
Okay, we will move on to 5.1, and I guess this is my report. So the executive search firm for our CAO recruitment. So as we know, CO Becker has offered his resignation and will be leaving us at the end of this year. And so we've put an RFQ out to out there, and the replies we got, we did have a meeting to review some of those. So today we have a motion before us. So I'm just waiting for Juanita to bring it up here. We have a motion before us for council to appoint Human Edge as the recruitment and consulting firm. As per our discussions, I think we felt comfortable with them, and so I'll just have somebody please make that recommended motion, please.
Mayor Barkley, I'll move that council appoint Human Edge Recruitment and Consulting Services for the purpose of CAO recruitment as per the negotiated contract terms and conditions.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody have any further questions about this decision that we're making? Councillor Heistad?
Yeah, Mayor Barker, I support this wholly. I was going to see this CO Becker. Are you sure about this?
Yes, Councillor, I said.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, I feel good. I feel good.
Silly question. All right, so we have a motion. All in favor? Okay, carried. All right, and then we will move into our council action control. If anybody has any questions about anything on the list, lots of red, which is good to see. And if nobody has any questions, I'll just have a motion, please, to accept the council action control as information. Councillor Heistad.
I'll make the motion to accept this as information.
All right, thank you. All in favor? Carried. All right, and we'll move into 6.1 with Director Kennedy.
Thanks, Mayor Barkley. So I have a couple of reports here. This one's just in regards to our operating project for our sidewalk replacement contract. So again, we look every year to correct all our hazards, trip hazards, heaved ponding sections throughout town. We've identified 23 locations for this year's program. We did put it out, an RFQ out on APC and the town website. Only received 2 bids this year. Collins Concrete, who has been successful for us in the last few years, came in at $89,000. So we are recommending moving forward with them again. We did provide a list of the areas throughout town, so again, various locations. If you have any questions, I will take that.
All right, thank you, Director Kennedy. Councillor Russell.
Yeah, I do have a question. There was a picture posted on social media of a section of sidewalk that was quite beat up, but I did see 48th Street was on the list. Is that the section that was posted?
It is,
Okay,
yes. We just
thank
picked
you.
an address, so it is the section on 51st Ave.
Great,
Yep.
thank you.
All right, thank you. I'll have somebody please make the recommended motion. Councillor Hill.
Yes, Mayor Barkley, I'll make the motion that council approves the award of the 2026 Sidewalk Replacement Program contract to Collins Concrete and Bobcat Limited for $89,180, GST not included, and to be funded from the roads operating budget.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions? All in favor? Carried. Okay, we'll move into 6.2 with Director Kennedy on the gravel sander and snowplow truck.
Yep, thanks again, Mayor Barkley. So this one is, we are following our municipal fleet policy in regards to replacement guidelines on our heavy-duty equipment. This unit that we're replacing is a 2001 unit with over 196,000 kilometers on it. We did a little more history on that one. We did purchase that one as a secondhand unit as well. We use it to haul gravel, dirt, snow, as well as sanding and plowing roads during the winter. We did replace the box back in 2023 in order to get a couple more years out of that one. So we're optimistic that we'll hopefully get a decent auction value for this one, be that it has a new box on it. Went out to RFQ in May, closed in May 29th, where we did get 3 submissions, all within the same range, 348, 353. Our recommendation is to go with the lowest submission in regards to Viking Chives with a 2026 Freightliner with a box sander to be used for the same purpose. We're also allocating a budget of about $20,000 to cover additional sideboards for that unit, mats, radios, etc. Suit it up. So it is underneath our budget of $500,000, so we are recommending proceeding with this one.
Okay, thank you, Director Kennedy. Could I please have someone make the recommended motion, please? Councillor Hystad.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Barkley. That council approved the purchase of one 2026 114 SD Freightliner gravel sander and snow plow truck unit from Viking. Is it Sives BB for the total price of $348,812.95. GST not included, to be funded from the Fleet Capital Reserve.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody have any questions? I don't see any. Oh, do you have a question, Councillor Hystad?
Yeah, for myself, I always like to remember some of the dates. I remember when the new box was put on the truck, the previous truck that Director Kennedy had mentioned. So how long will this be? About a 10-year span, do you figure, with this new vehicle?
No, 20 years.
20 years?
Is our policy, yeah. We
Okay.
will look at it again in 20 years.
Okay,
Yep.
thanks.
Okay, thank you. Any more questions? All in favor of the motion? Carry unanimously. Okay, and then we'll move into 6.3 with Director Kennedy and the dog park.
Yes. So back in April, Council was provided a letter from a concerned resident in regards to the existing dog park and how we could potentially incorporate a portion of the park to be used for smaller dogs. As per the request of council, we did a review and thought we'd provide some options. Did a number of research, municipalities have multiple of the variety of different dog parks. While some of the parks provide approximate weight and height guidance, municipalities generally don't focus on enforcement of that. Instead, they focus on behavior, compatibility, as well as owner control. Most of the municipalities rely on signage, owner judgment to encourage appropriate use. In practice, municipalities are more concerned about aggressive behavior, rough play, uncontrolled dogs versus the overweight or measurement of dogs. Research also shows municipalities commonly avoid adding detailed size restrictions and park-specific requirements into their bylaws. Instead, municipalities typically leave their existing animal control and responsible pet ownership bylaws unchanged and manage the small dog areas through signage, park rules, and public education. So below is a list of all of the municipalities that we looked at. It is our recommendation to add a section within the existing dog park with a signage indicating small dogs, as well as additional signage at the main gate as per below, just in regards to rules and help putting some information in regards to the bylaw, as well as some contact numbers for emergencies. So I'll take any questions from council.
Okay, thank you, Director Kennedy. Are you going to put in a separate gate for the small dog park?
It would have a separate gate.
From the outside of the fence, though? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so they don't have to go through the other part to get there?
Exactly.
Okay, perfect. I know one letter that we received, I don't know when, a little while ago now, last term sometime, about, you know, people may be having some challenges to go getting up there. So did we look at any other sites, or is this, it's probably the most inexpensive option, I'm guessing, to?
Yeah, at this
to
time, we
this,
left
yeah.
it as this location in a review.
Yep.
We are doing the outside spaces master plan, so
Right.
that will get addressed at that time.
Sure, okay.
Yep.
No, perfect, thank you. Any other questions? Councillor Russell?
Yeah, thanks, Mayor Barkley. I just want to say I support the not getting specific on the signage of the height and the weight. We don't want to have that enforcement come in place. We don't want to scale, or we don't want, it must be this height or ride the ride sign. So I do support that, and I think we give it a shot and see what the public thinks of it after it's put in place, so.
Councillor Hystad?
Yeah, Mayor Barkley, the one thing I was going to ask is the cost of it. I'm just curious what the cost was. And believe it or not, probably about 15 years ago, I would have thought a dog park was a silly idea until you get smarter and you hear about people that own dogs. I don't have a dog, but I think that socializing your animal, but also getting a better understanding. My daughter has a small dog, and it makes sense that they don't get eaten at the dog park. It's good risk management. So, how much is that?
Approximately, we budgeted $7,500.
Okay, thanks. Thank you.
Yes, Mayor Barkley, and yeah, just to kind of add to that, like, looking forward to seeing what administration comes back with, but definitely the appetite for the community, I think, wouldn't be opposed to having a secondary location that might not have the barrier of that, you know, the steep hill, and even if we were to find other parking to whatever it may be, something a little bit maybe more on the other side of town, you know, obviously it's a second location, I think might be a good option for our town at some point in time, but I guess we'll hear what you guys come back with, so.
Okay, thank you. Could I please have someone make the recommended motion? Councillor McKellar.
Mayor Barkley, I'll move that council approves the addition of a fenced area within the existing dog park, designated area for small dogs, and signage for users.
Thank you. From the small dog owner. All in favor? Carried. Okay. We'll move into 7.1 with the Chief Administrative Officer Bylaw with Director Vickers.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Barkley. So as council may remember from last week and us bringing forward our privacy updates, at that time we did indicate that we would have to bring forward the CAO bylaw just for some updates. So the changes before you today are designating the Chief Administrative Officer as head of the town for both acts, so both the Access to Information as well as the Protection of Privacy Act. And it formally establishes the CAO as our town's privacy officer, which gives them the authority to delegate access and privacy functions, oversee the town's privacy management program, require privacy impact assessments, as well as ensuring the appropriate safeguards are in place to protect personal information. So I'll take any questions that council may have, otherwise.
Sure. Thank you, Director Vickers. I'll have somebody please give first reading to this bylaw. Councillor Strong.
Thank you, Mayor Barkley. I will make the motion that council give first reading the bylaw 1752-2026, the Chief Administrative Officer bylaw.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody have any questions about the bylaw? Don't see any. All in favor? Carried. Have somebody please give second reading. Councillor Hill.
I'll make the recommended motion that council give second reading to bylaw 1752-2026, the Chief Executive Officer, or Administrative, Officer bylaw.
Okay, thank you. Questions? None? All in favor? Thank you. And then we'll have a motion to proceed to third reading, please. Councillor McKellar.
Mayor Barkley, I'll make the motion that council unanimously agree to proceed to the third reading of bylaw 1752-2026 at this meeting.
Okay, thank you. All in favor? Okay, unanimous. And then we'll have somebody please give the third and final reading to this bylaw. Councillor Russell.
Thanks, Mayor Barkley. That council give third and final reading to bylaw 1752-2026, the Chief Administrative Office bylaw.
Okay, thank you. Last chance. Any questions? No? All in favor? Okay, carried unanimously. Thank you. Okay, and then we'll move into 7.2 with the AI technology use policy.
Perfect. Thank you, Mayor Barkley. Again, so this policy was brought before council last week as part of our entire privacy management program. So it's coming before council for formal approval today. So ultimately, this policy is recognizing where those AI technologies are providing opportunities to the town and town employees to improve efficiency, research, any documentation preparation, as well as maybe some administrative processes. However, it also clearly identifies the risk and warnings to our staff and how they are to use the AI program, what information they are allowed to put into the program, which one, and also there's a schedule attached that kind of identifies which programs we are actually allowed to use or not use. Fundamentally, we're not using free AI programs that are out there. We're having to, any of our staff that want to use AI programs either has to use an AI program that's integrated into something that we've already purchased, such as Copilot, because that is integrated into Office 365, or some other paid for like ChatGPT Enterprise or some other kind of highly protected program, but also clearly identifies the training opportunities as well. And we are currently in the process of researching what the best kind of training program will be for our staff, but we're in the middle of that as well. But each staff member does have to sign off saying that they acknowledge the risks and that they are going to follow the policy. And so the key provisions of the policy include protecting any personal, confidential, and any sensitive information that the town may hold on behalf of anyone else. Also, the requirements that human error does happen and validation of AI-generated outputs must happen before taking that information and using that information anywhere. Employee accountability for all the work completed. Restrictions on the use of unapproved AI tools where sensitive information is involved. Approval requirement for any AI technology use for municipal business purpose, and it is identifying the CAO as the ultimate decider on which different program we are ultimately allowed to use, as well as transparency requirements for public-facing AI applications and communications, and then just identifying the oversight by the CAO. And then also clearly identifying that misuse or non-compliance, including using any restricted access, could result in disciplinary action up to and including termination, depending on the severity or sensitivity of the identification. So following the adoption of this policy, we will work on educating and training all of our staff going forward.
Okay, thank you, Director Vickers. I'm also curious, would there be some training that would be appropriate for council as well?
Absolutely, Mayor Barkley. We'll have that discussion
Okay.
and then bring that up with
Sure.
council.
Yeah, thank you. All right, have somebody please make the recommended motion. Councillor Russell?
Can I ask a question first?
Of course,
Mayor
yes,
Barkley? So
definitely.
my question is on the review and revise section of the policy. So it says say review periodically. this is such a rapidly evolving area. I don't know, should we have something in there like a minimum annually, but on as a, you know, you don't have the evolving best practices, which would cover a shorter term, but I think at the very least, this should be reviewed on an annual basis, but just my thoughts on it.
Mayor Barclay, through to Councillor Russell, we can add that amendment in on the bottom that this policy will be reviewed annually. Even if no changes happen, there's no harm. Otherwise, it's on a 3-year rotation right now. Currently, most of our policies are to be reviewed every 3 years.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
I
Councillor
think
Russell?
3 years is quite a bit in
Yeah.
this area, so, yeah.
Thank you. Councillor Hystad?
Yeah, Mayor Barclay, I would agree with Councillor Russell on the every year, right? That's what you're getting at, Councillor Russell, right? Minimum. Just kind of want to know costing of Copilot. I see Copilot every day, and I would agree with Mayor Barclay that it would be good for us to have a refresher on it. It would be a good opportunity for us as council. So just the costing of it as well, offhand.
So, well, Mayor Barclay through to Councillor Hystad, so there is no additional cost for Copilot. We pay for the entire
Okay.
Office 365 suite. We do pay for a number of ChatGPT, which I think are about $30 a month. I think we have 4 or so licenses of that as well.
Yeah, no, and I was just thinking of training with staff. Would that be internal within their own departments?
So we're still reviewing that.
Okay.
Either that is likely going to be an external consultant or something that myself and possibly the legislative coordinator work on doing the training for the rest of staff.
Potential costs, potentially.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So do we know, Director Vickers, like around some of these technologies, the safeguards around it and where the information is being stored? I know there was, some certainly news out about one of the main companies that they didn't have proper guardrails around it at all. And so there was really no policy rules around the information that was being inputted into the tool. And
So Mayor Barclay, that's typically why we have the schedule on the back end that kind of dictate what we can and can't use. And while it doesn't specifically name any on there, it does say anything municipally managed. And that's how we get to control it. And that's when we're paying for things, we have more control over the
Okay.
management. When you have just like the free Gemini or free whatever, that's where it's just open sourced. Anything you put on there goes right out into the chat world. But anything that is anything integrated, like Copilot, that's a closed loop. So any information that we use, even if it's, I'm like, tell me how to say this sentence so I'm firm but nice, that stays within our family of Copilot and doesn't go out into the AI world,
you
right?
ask that question a lot? No, I'm just kidding.
Sometimes. So, and everyone will have to be run through the CAO for formal approval.
Okay.
And we may block some from some staff and may say that you can only use this specific kind, right?
Okay.
But we all have Copilot, so realistically, all of our staff should be eligible to use the version that we already pay for, so there should be no additional cost for that. And again, then it's that closed loop.
Okay.
We still want to be careful and we're not putting employee lists, we're not putting in payment information or anything kind of private information, regardless if it's a closed loop or not.
That was already done by somebody else. It's okay. It's okay.
Well, then they can do it.
Okay. And then, like with things like AI notes, that tends to pop up in meetings and,
Like programs taking AI notes for you. So that's an integrated AI system, right? So if we're
yeah,
paying
like
for
in MS Teams, it'll come up. I
Yeah.
never said yes to it. And
Yeah, you can keep it or not keep it, but that still, if it's part of Teams, it's part of our, now if you are joining someone else's Office 365, it's their
Yeah.
AI system, right? So it's, if we are starting the Teams, it's our AI loop,
Okay.
right? But we can choose to turn that off and on when you're into a meeting.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Russell.
No, remember, I was just going to make the motion. if
Okay,
we're
yeah,
done.
please do.
Yep, I'll move that council approve policy 2026-008, artificial intelligence, AI technology use as amended.
Yes,
Okay.
thank you.
Okay, thank you. All in favor? Carried. Okay, we'll move into 7.3 with Director Vickers and the budget policy.
Okay, perfect. So Mayor Barkley, we have a report before you today. It's kind of doing a bit of double duty. So the first we're just going to talk about the budget policy as it sits and kind of go and do that refresher. And then we're going to kind of really focus in on the public participation and getting through and talking about kind of leading up to budget this year and this summer and how that's going to look. So we'll just go over the budget policy kind of first. So it was passed back in 2023. And it kind of, council reviews and approves the budgets each year, but the budget policy does provide that broader framework that supports those decisions and helps ensure a consistent approach to financial management over time. So the policy recognizes that budgeting is not simply an annual exercise of balancing those revenues and expenses that we have, but decisions are made during those budget processes often have impacts that extend well beyond a single year and can influence future taxation levels, service delivery, any future reserve funding, as well as our debt capacity and infrastructure replacement requirements. So for that reason, kind of the policy places a strong emphasis on long-term financial planning. So in addition to the annual operating and capital budgets, we are required to prepare a 3-year operating and a 10-year capital plan. And now typically we do a 4-year operating forecast because we're presenting a five-year span to you. So we're doing 1 extra year based on the budget policy. So we have that in the 10-year capital plan, and those planning tools kind of provide council with visibility into the future and what those future financial kind of pressures and infrastructure needs are, and can help identify any challenges and opportunities so that they become immediate budget concerns. So this approach will allow council to kind of evaluate decisions not only based on our current year, but also those further years. So whether discussing some service levels, capital projects, reserve contributions, or funding strategies, so those long-term planning documents can help provide context when council needs to make decisions like that. The policy also establishes several guidelines and guiding principles for budget development. So ultimately, it says that operating budgets are built using the previous year's approved budgets kind of as a foundation, and then are adjusted as kind of need be based on anticipated revenues or expenses, any historical trends, any economic conditions that we're kind of seeing in today's environment, any predictive analysis and professional judgment that we get and receive. The policy further establishes the expectation that the town maintains a balanced operating budget. So what that means is we have no surplus, our operating revenues and expenditures must balance each other out. And we typically, if we have a deficit, we typically go into our reserves and may utilize them when appropriate and in accordance when approving with our other financial strategies. Outside of that, the overall objective remains ensuring that those expenditures are supported by sustainable funding sources as well. Another important principle within the policy is the recognition of our life cycle asset management. So the policy requires that infrastructure maintenance, replacement needs, reserve funding, asset management, and all that long-term capital planning all be considered as part of our annual budget process. The policy also addresses ongoing financial monitoring and accountability throughout the year. So what this is those quarterly reporting to council each year, so that you guys receive quarterly financial reporting and variance analysis. During the quarterly reports, you receive updates on all those major capital projects, at least the balances, and then that gives an opportunity to pose questions on those. We also will do reserve monitoring and any recommendations for any significant budget adjustments when necessary. You do see some of those occasionally throughout the year. All these reporting mechanisms kind of are intended to ensure council remains informed on our financial position throughout the year and can respond proactively to any emerging issues. So then the final part focuses on that public participation and transparency. And it does identify public participation as an important context of the budget process. Because municipal budgets directly affect residents through their property taxes, utility rates, service levels, and overall community priorities. And the policy encourages opportunities for public participation and education prior to budget planning and deliberation periods. However, it doesn't kind of specify a specific engagement model, so it just provides flexibility for council and administration to determine what level of engagement is appropriate and how that engagement should kind of occur. So council is looking for some feedback regarding any future public participation opportunities. But we will kind of get into our direct communication kind of plan that administration is going to kind of recommend. So we're kind of looking at it, we're going to kind of do a two-phased approach, leaping off of kind of taxes and how taxes just finished. We'd like to kind of take the first phase, would kind of begin and go through those summer months and continue through budget development and up through council deliberations. And it would focus on communication of costing pressures, different, like we might link one to the State of Infrastructure report. We might talk about kind of our CMP costs, how that cost has increased over the last 5-10 years. We might talk about different levels of governments has different levels of responsibilities and what the town can actually control and impact. We would do this by doing likely weekly or bi-weekly posts through social media, different levels of social media in the paper, to kind of talking about these posts, linking everything back to our budget involved page, which we've been already running kind of a series to try and get people signed up to that page, which we are offering some gift cards to get people kind of signed up. But that involved site would kind of house all of our budget information, and every post that we would have would kind of link and push everyone back to this involved site as kind of a one-stop place for all of our documentation and communication. We'd continue with the social media posts or a kind of a Did You Know series that shares those informations. We would still utilize the utility inserts to kind of share some of those budgeting documentations. We are going to be doing kind of a budget activity, so not necessarily a survey per se, but putting out there a set of 10 questions that, based on the responses, would at least show the person completing the activity how their choices can impact a service change or a tax increase. We're not collecting any feedback, but just kind of putting everyone in a certain frame of mind so they can understand, like, yeah, I want an extra playground this year and I want to have 3 more events and I want to have an extra RCMP member. Well, now you support a 3% tax increase based on those items, right? Just to kind of put people in the right frame of mind. And then we would be looking at potentially some kind of public event. We have suggested the fall registration night simply because it's a good idea to go to a place where people are already going to be. However, that likely is in September, could be pushing it a little bit late. So we could talk about having a separate public event, but we just might get better attendance from an event that's kind of already happening. Potentially Canada Day might be okay, but that might be a bad day to kind of ask about budget. But. And then phase 2 would kind of happen after budget passes. So really looking at what council's decision was, how that's going to change things, either service levels or tax rates or even water rates, and how that's going to impact the people. But continuing on with our Did You Know series, likely go for up into kind of February, kind of go for the next 3 months, kind of outline, releasing the approved budget, releasing budget highlights, and kind of showing how council's decision could impact any of the residents. And then that would probably leapfrog right back into taxes again, and we would just kind of have a big cycle of taxes, starting budget, explaining budget decision, back into taxes again. I'll take some comments from council.
Thank you, Director Vickers. I would like to see us do a separate event for this, because I think it's bigger than it has been before. And even if we did 2 or 3 of them, like, I don't know how soon you can be ready, but even if we did something in like July, August, and September, and, different times, evening, weekend, whatever suits everybody. But I think it's really important for us to have our own expectations. So we're in this all the time, it's part of our job, it's your job every day. And so the knowledge that we have is, significant, because it needs to be. And so I don't want council to have the expectation that, the whole community is going to get excited about this, because I don't think most people don't necessarily want to delve into the budget too deeply. But there are things that come along that are concerning to them, or they have questions about something. So I think, the expectations are, let's do these public sessions and invite people to come out, but at the same time set expectations on both sides, right? That we have an expectation for, the public too, that I think if you took 100 people, you may get 50 different answers to something, and then it's, well, what do people want? So I think part of that process has to be about understanding that our role is, from recommendations from you, is to do what's best for the whole community and not for a small part of the community. And that's can be difficult to understand at times, right? Because I want this and I'm not getting it. So I think laying the groundwork is really important, and keeping that language as plain as possible to follow and understand, and because it gets deep at times. Right? So, well, thanks for this. Looks good. Councillor Hill?
Yeah, just to build off that, I do believe that having multiple opportunities for citizens to attend would be advantageous. Just on this simple fact that there might be questions that they might have after the first session that they could come potentially to the second session to follow up or whatever it may be. And obviously everyone's very busy, and to have a one and done approach I don't think would be very fitting for this. So multiple opportunities, I would definitely be in favor of trying to see if we could facilitate that. So.
Thank you. Councillor Hystad?
Mayor Barkley, I think Councillor McKellar had his light on first.
Go ahead.
Did I? Okay. Question about, I guess, to Director Vickers and Mayor Barkley. The question that I would have, we already have the Q alert, right? With that data that we get from the individuals, are we allowed to, we can send messages of what's going on in the community? Can we use that? It's kind of an awkward, and the reason why, I'll tell you where my head's going. Canada Day, you don't want to be talking budget Canada Day, but if you had people signing up to Q Alert and all those things, how to disseminate the information following, and having 3 or 4 events, it may be easier to, to extract information or their emails, or that's what I was thinking of.
Mayor Barkley, through to Councillor Hystad, did you mean involve?
Involve, yeah, involve itself, like if we have a carrot at, that's what I meant. Yeah, so thanks. But there's a carrot there at Canada Day, people are registering, it's all good, everybody's loving each other that day, and then we can eventually plan these events using Involve, not Q Alert, yeah. Too many things going on. Thanks.
Exactly. Once someone is signed up to our Involve site, anytime we add any information onto that site, they're going to get an email saying, go check it out.
Yeah, and we can use that carrot at the police barbecue, Canada Day, and then we can start disseminating that information that way. That's how I was looking at it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor McKellar?
Yes, Mayor Barkley, through to Director Vickers. 2 things. I like first of all, the multiple sessions. I think that's a really good idea. The second thing that I'm inquiring about is, how do boards and commissions come forward with, let's say, requisitions for budget? I don't understand how that process works.
So Mayor Barkley, through to Councillor McKellar. So typically they would either come through maybe the councillor representative at a council meeting, or informal through an email, or they would come directly from that committee.
Okay, thank you.
As a request in. Yeah.
Yeah, I can give you an example, the wastewater commission. So they would send Director Vickers an email once we've done the budget at the wastewater commission, and that comes forward to council. So maybe everybody might be a little bit different, but.
Yeah, Parkland does it very similar. They send me a direct requisition that council still does approve, but that's how they get their request through. Mayor Barkley, through to Councillor McKellar, was there anyone that had been missed, or that you've heard that someone hasn't gotten a request in?
No, I think the thing is not so much through our commissions or something like the Parkland Regional Library, but I'm looking through the Innisfil Library Board per se. There's a lot of discussion going on with budget right now.
Yeah. Yeah, so I typically reach out to the library a little bit earlier and ask for their budget request, and then they send that in direct. Yeah.
That's perfect. Thank you, Director Vickers.
Okay, well, I think this is a massive undertaking, which is good. And I don't even know if I'd do anything on Canada Day, just let people have fun. But, it's passing out cupcakes or whatever, and stay away from business for a day. But maybe I'll leave that to you guys. But I love this, and look forward to seeing what we can come up with. Do you want to set dates, or will that come up eventually?
go ahead.
I'd say
Not yet.
the feedback is good. We'll come back with, start laying out a potential content and kind of break it up into what you want to achieve in that community engagement.
Sure. I'm wondering if we could even, a lot of communities, they do this state of the town or state of the city address. Could do that for maybe 10 minutes to start off with. So typically that would be the mayor that does that and kind of give us an overall view of the town and what's going on, and then delve into a little bit deeper with your expertise from all the directors and stuff, and maybe, and however many people come out. The last time we did this, I think 8 people came, so yeah. So hopefully it'll be better this time. Okay, I'll just have a motion, please.
I'll make the motion, but before I do, I need to pick up on your point. You said only 8 people came out. That speaks to the importance of multiple ways of getting the information, not just the open houses or community events, right? Because they tend to be not that well attended unless there's a real issue that a group of them have. So the multiple ways. But I will make the motion that council approves this report for information and provides feedback to administration regarding proposed public participation opportunities.
All right, thank you. All right, all in favor? Okay, carried. All right, and then we will move into community services with Director Jenkins, or with Manager McKenzie, the emergency fund policy.
Good afternoon. I'm here to bring back the Emergency Assistance Fund policy for council approval. The original policy was brought forward at the June 1st meeting, and a couple amendments were made to the policy. The biggest piece being we removed all reference to Family and Community Support Services, so FCSS, just to ensure that there's no implication to anybody, including the public, that FCSS funding is being utilized to support the emergency fund. It is going to be supported through that $40,000 contribution that was received, and will remain entirely separate from FCSS dollars, particularly because using provincial FCSS funding would violate all of our agreement with the province. So the policy establishes the framework for administering short-term emergency financial assistance to residents experiencing unexpected financial hardship, and outlines eligibility criteria, the approval process, accountability measures, and financial limits. The intention is not to accept unsolicited applications, but to provide a tool for staff to provide support in appropriate circumstances. So the approval of the policy will support administration with a clear and consistent framework for responding to emergency assistance requests from residents. The requests will continue to be managed just through existing staffing resources, and no significant service level impacts are anticipated. And as discussed last week, the intention is not to broadly promote that this fund exists, but to share with our internal capacity, as well as through some of our existing partnerships with other community organizations that may be supporting folks as well.
Okay, thank you, Manager McKenzie. Could I please have someone make the recommended motion, please? Councillor Hystad.
Yeah, Mayor Barkley, I'll make the motion, and then I'm going to ask a couple questions if that works. Okay. That council approve the Emergency Assistance Fund Policy 2026-007 as presented.
All right, thank you.
And my question would be, with that $40,000, so will that roll over from year to year? And when we're done with the fund, will we have to ask, say if things go well with the fund, it works well with the process and the adjudication with our staff and FCSS, would we have to ask for additional funds if need be?
So the intention with the fund is that it is going to move into reserve and be invested with the hope that we can continue to sustain the fund through that capacity. Would also allow for community donations, of which we do occasionally receive the request of how could we potentially support. And we've previously directed organizations to support through the purchase of gift cards that we could then give out to residents. Moving forward, if organizations are comfortable, that direction would be to donate through to this fund. As far as looking, the way the fund is set out, the intention is not to access it on a very regular basis. The criteria to access it is pretty specific. Folks do need to have some sort of sustainability plan in place in order for us to be able to support. And the maximum dollar value that's available to folks is relatively minimal as well.
So we'll monitor this for a year, potentially come back in a year and discuss it, or budget, I'm assuming. And then my last question would be is, when you're coming in and you're adjudicating it with individuals, are you able to help them with some type of, because you deal with individuals that are in need, is there a way to help them in any way of helping them with their finances or literacy, those pieces that may help depending on the situation? Because I see it as, this is the test, and then how do we help those individuals best on a monthly basis who may be struggling with the financial literacy piece to this? Or it's, we don't know what's coming in, but I see that individuals that do come in this work is they struggle with the financial literacy piece as well.
So I can comment on the reserve and sort of that review, and then I'll let Kristen talk sort of more how they specifically interact with clients. Again, council receives an update on reserves annually. But again, we're anticipating that this $40,000 should last a number of years, and that we would have, council would have time to consider if they want to look at either funding this reserve or how we would want to fund this type of program longer term. But as Manager McKenzie mentioned, this isn't something that we're thinking we're going to be, on a monthly basis accessing and providing funding. That it is sort of very specific parameters, and that other avenues have been sort of exhausted before we're going to this fund.
Yeah, no, and I appreciate the info, so thanks. Those are all my questions.
Did you get what you needed out of?
Yeah,
Okay,
it's Mayor Barkley to Manager McKenzie. It's fluid. This is fluid, and we're all learning here with this opportunity. That's how I look at it. As to building off it, that's where, when it comes back, the information comes back from the director back to council, when we do our deliberation with budget, I think there's further discussion there, and I think this is really positive for the community. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So any other questions? No? Okay, we have a motion. All in favor of the motion? Okay, carried. Thank you, Manager McKenzie. And we will move into 8.2 with Director Jenkins and the Art in Nature Legacy.
All right,
project.
Thank you, Mayor Barkley. So as council is aware, the Art Club will be hosting their Art in Nature Walk starting June 21st, displaying art pieces throughout Centennial Park and around Napoleon Lake. The Art Club has requested the consideration that the town purchase a legacy piece to be permanently installed commemorating the event. We did come to council a couple of weeks ago to discuss a couple of options. Based on some of the feedback provided and discussions with the Art Club, we've come back with sort of a new take on the one option. So the By the Pond steel and stained glass cattail piece, the suggestion is that we can update and have the artist create a much larger piece, similar in nature with the cattails and the steel and the glass. and that the piece would be installed near the Napoleon Lake gazebo, sort of along the trail, near the interface between the mowed grass and the cattails. The updated design will be much larger and more robust, and that we're confident that it can be practical and resilient in the space. As well, it'll be far more visible sort of as you're in and around the park. This will be a new piece that would have to be created. So if a decision is made, may not be ready right for the June 21st start, but will be available shortly after. So we are recommending consideration of the $1,765 for the installation of that piece.
Thank you, Director Jenkins. Did you want to make the recommended motion, Councillor Hill?
Yeah.
Okay, then I have a question. Carry on.
Okay, I'll just proceed with making the motion that council approves the contribution of $1,765 to the Innisfil Art Club for the installation of a legacy art installation to be funded from the 2026 operating budget.
Okay, thank you. Just a question, Director Jenkins, would the town of Innisfil have a small sign with that installation that is sponsored by the town of Innisfil?
Yes, we'll make sure there's a commemoration sign as part of it.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Okay, Councillor Russell.
Thanks, Mayor Barkley. I have no hesitation in supporting some type of artwork for this. I still do have the concern about the resiliency and how long it will last. Bigger just means it might be a nicer, longer thing to bend, but hopefully if administration feels it's going to hold up to that, I certainly would support it, but I have a little reservation.
Yeah, we are confident looking at the way we intend to install it as well as the materials, and do intend to put it, not right along the trail, but a little bit off, and if possible into where the grass isn't mowed, so it's not, not quite as enticing to be able to get out to it. As well, we will stay back from the gazebo itself, so if you're still in the gazebo, you're getting the full sort of natural view of the lake, and that it'll be a bit back from there.
All right, thank you. Okay, so we have a motion. All in favor of the motion? Okay, carried. All right, we'll move into correspondence and information. First of all, we have a letter from Innisfil Pride, so I would like for someone, please, there is a motion on the proclamation, and if somebody could please make that motion, that would be appreciated. Councillor McKellar.
Mayor Barkley, I'll move that motion on the proclamation.
Okay. Did you want it read, CO Becker, or?
No, that's
You're good?
fine.
You're good. Okay, fine. Okay, thank you. Okay, all in favor? Okay, carried unanimously. Thank you. And we have some correspondence on the ADAP program, Tagish Golf Tournament, if anybody's interested, and Parkland and MPC. So I'll just have somebody please make a motion that we accept the correspondence and information if there's no questions about anything.
Mayor Barkley,
Hystad?
I'm gonna make the motion to accept correspondence as in the package.
All right, thank you. All in favor? Okay, carried. And then we'll move into council reports. So we'll begin with Councillor Hill.
I regretfully did not prepare my report on time, but my next one will be more than satisfactory.
Okay, you were busy. Okay. Councillor Strong.
Oh, sorry about that. Sorry, I apologize, Mayor Barkley did not put a report in, but quickly I did attend the historical village meeting last week and had a lot of fun on the bike rodeo, riding the bike with the youngsters. And like Councillor Hill, we'll have a full report for the full next meeting.
Okay, actually 2 weeks from now. Homework 2 weeks from now, so, okay, good. Councillor McKellar.
Yeah, Mayor Barkley, my report is as presented. One item to add, well, two items to add. One, on June 6th, I did attend the Alberta Air Tours with the Innisfil Flying Club. It's too bad the attendance was very, very light there because of bad weather, but a great time had by all, and the town certainly provided a door prize, and we were the only ones, I think, for the door prize, and to Mayor Barkley, the donation of the ginger beer that went over well.
Non-alcohol ginger beer.
Went over well with the other beer.
Okay.
So that was well done. The other thing I'd like to just bring forward here, based on the presentation we had today, is a motion that when we came forward, before I make the motion, when we came forward before that, we didn't need to respond to Bill 28. But because of the regulatory changes that'll be forthcoming and based on Ron Shepherd's position, I would move that we draft a letter to the Premier, the Minister of Municipal Affairs, and our MLA related to the impact some of the regulatory changes may have on our library services. And so that's my motion.
Okay. No, perfect, thank you. And thank you for attending the event at the airport on behalf of all of us. So we have a motion, we have templates, correct, for the...
I can access those templates and send them to the town,
Send them to Juanita, please. Okay, so all in favor of...
Can I speak to that motion?
Sure.
Okay. I certainly agree we need to write a letter. I just question timing because we don't know the exact details of the regulation yet and exactly what we would be opposed to. It would be general in nature. Right now saying we're opposed to potential changes that could impact, but not being specific. So I know the library's requested it, but I just wonder if this is the best timing, or we do one now and follow it up once we know the details and get more specific after. Would that be the best way to do it? Probably. But
I know that the legislation has passed.
the regulations are not in place.
Well, but I think, I don't know, I thought we heard today from Ron that now would be a good time. And I think other communities are doing the same, so.
Mayor Barkley, if
Yeah, you
back
give us
through-
advice, you're the library
back,
person.
through to Councillor Russell. I think he's bringing up a valuable point, which I really didn't think until you brought it up. Just prior to coming to council today, I read a position paper with a number of items related to future changes to regulations, but nothing factual at this time. So maybe it's, with the motion, is that we look at potentially writing a letter and having a clear understanding of what the content of our letter would be to those individuals.
So can I reply, Mayor
for
Barkley?
sure.
So I think we do need to write a letter of support. I just don't think that should be the end of it, because the real detail is going to come out, because he mentioned that he doesn't know how it's going to impact like their internet or access or their ebook access. They don't know that detail yet. So once we have that detail, I think a more specific one that gets into what exactly it is that we're opposed to. Right now, we're just opposed in general to potential. And I agree, they've asked for that, so we should do it, but I just don't know how effective it's going to be till we get to more of that granular saying, could you please look at this, because this is going to have an impact on our taxpayers, on our budget, unless you support it, those type of things. Right?
How about we have a motion, we direct administration to bring back a report. I don't know, I mean, I realize libraries are a little bit different than other committees we're necessarily involved in, but, you know, where we see the, I think we've gone through Bill 28 a little bit, but if maybe we could have administration bring back the specific portion of Bill 28 that's concerning libraries. And, I mean, if they have passed the legislation, we should know what's in it. And I think there's information on Alberta Municipalities' website, in fact. Or you could reach out to AB Munis, and they may have some specific information with, or.
Mayor Barkley, to your question, I know council did receive some information a couple of weeks ago regarding the specifics of Bill 28. Certainly could bring that back if you want to take another look. It would also be beneficial to see the draft letters that Parkland is providing municipalities, to see the content of what they want to advance those advocacy efforts on. Maybe maybe that's a good start. Certainly, my advice would be then to provide council copies of the template letters, and then you can pull together a letter that supports your intent.
Sure. How about, we have it, admin bring back that portion of Bill 28, and then we'll have Councillor McKellar forward the templates to Juanita, and then they could all be in our council agenda for
Definitely.
if next week suits, or the week after, whatever your timing is. Does that make sense? So we won't have a motion to send a letter right now?
So we'll just withdraw that.
Withdraw
Okay.
that motion? Okay. And then we'll move forward from there, so, okay. All right, Councillor Hystad. Or Councillor Russell, I'm sorry, see, I was going to
No,
jump
that's
right over
okay.
you.
My report is there. I didn't put in the CAO recruitment meetings. I didn't know if that was still confidential or not, but obviously it's not. So I did attend both of those as well. So nothing further to add.
Great, thank you. And Councillor Hystad.
Thanks, Mayor Barkley. Here's my report before you. I'm certain Councillor Hill will have a slideshow next in 2 weeks. I guarantee it. I've seen him taking lots of pictures at FCM. I do want to say the FCM conference was very well done in Edmonton. Probably one of the best ones I've ever been to in my time sitting on council over the years. So, and then another piece as well is the upcoming parade on Saturday, Forever Canadian. Just so full disclosure, I've been involved in Forever Canadian since the get-go, but Thomas Lukasik, the Forever Canadian Unity bus, will be in Innisfil at the parade. So gone through formal process in that, but I just wanted you to be aware of that, Mayor Barkley, and then
Yep, thanks.
thank you. That's it.
Perfect, thank you. I just want to give a little bit of a shout out to staff, Manager Mackenzie and Emily and Jacob for the garden party last week at the Legion. Thank goodness for extroverts. And Jacob was certainly a hit, and thanks very much to him for dancing with some people that wanted to dance. It was amazing. And then, yeah, I just think it's great to see staff interacting with the public, and it came off very well. And then later, some of the pies, just so everybody knows, were distributed to care facilities in the community. I believe Autumn Grove, and Manager Mackenzie and I took some up to Rosefield as well, and she then got a tour of Rosefield, which was good to see. And so just want to say thanks to everybody, and my report is in there. Okay, so we will move on to upcoming events, and we'll just have a motion to accept the upcoming events as information, please. Councillor Russell.
Mayor Barkley, I'll make that motion with one addition. We have a CSSC meeting tomorrow night from 6 to 7:30.
All right, thank you. Okay, all in favor of that motion? Okay, carried, and then we'll just have a motion to go in camera, please. Councillor Hill.
Mayor Barkley, I'll move that we move in camera.
Okay, thank you. All in favor? Carried. Okay, we'll just take a 2-minute break.